Welcome everyone. I'm Wes Warren. I'm here with Greg Stanley, and today we're going to be talking about how to bring scripting effectively to your office. So many doctors dream of this, obviously, getting their team to deliver a script, sometimes a simple script, sometimes long, sometimes multiple scripts, and they can be hugely impactful. We know that, So how you answer the phone, how you check somebody out, how you ask for an appointment sounds simple, but getting people to actually do it, different story. But the effectiveness is clear. There are certain words you can use that have better results across the board. Throughout the practice, you're going to see that from answering the phone to reappointing somebody, how you talk about treatment, uh, even yourself, quite frankly, in treatment planning. We have a very famous dentist that used to say that he would deliver the same script over and over and over again. And the team always knew to turn the vacuums on so the other patient didn't hear him deliver that same script to the patient right next door. Scripts are important. You get something that works and you want to make sure that everybody's using them. And they do work, especially if you can get everybody to use them. And that's the challenge. Greg, what have you learned? I know you've tried over the years, you've seen doctors fail at this, trying to get scripts in place. What have you learned about this?
One thing, Wes, I've gone through different periods in my life where I liked to go to the theater and see various plays. And after I was working with this problem in dentistry, this scripting, I always thought, what would it be like if actors just got up and made it up as they went? I don't think it would have the same power to bring people back over and over. It wouldn't sell tickets, but we try to do this in dentistry. We bring in a staff person, we say, oh, she's a good person. She's good, she smiles, she's good with people. But does that really mean she knows what to say in the different circumstances? So let me tell you some problems I've run into. People at the theater give a scripted play because that's what they were signed up to do. In a dental office, we hire people basically to work in a dental office. And then somewhere along the way, we bring people like you and I in talking about doing scripts, and they go, hey, that isn't what I signed up for. I'm going to sound like the person at McDonald's asking if people want fries with that. These scripts in dentistry are more complex and more textured than you might find at a fast food restaurant. And the outcome is incredibly impactful. So the fact that they weren't hired, like signing on promising to give a specific script, that doesn't mean you can't enforce this. And a lot of people think that with a script, they're going to sound silly. People are going to say, oh, that's obviously a script. Well, it does until you really internalize it and know it and can say it with feeling and give it meaning. So the fact that they were hired and are now expected to say the right thing a certain way, you got to get on board with this. Let me give you an example where this naturally goes off the tracks. Have a nice case, good size case. We do the work. As the person's leaving, the person says, how would you like to pay for that? Well, send me a bill. And I mean, that's their script. Send me a bill. Or that's what they choose to say. Nothing could leave your practice in a more woeful state than having that said at the front desk. They need to know exactly how to say this in a way that traps, and I use that word consciously, traps the patient into paying what they agreed to pay for. In other words, they got the work done, they wanted the work, and now we're giving them the option not to pay because we don't know what to say. That's devastating. That's just one example. Scripting for referrals have what we call the secondary effect, meaning if you do it right, you'll probably get a referral. Scripting for Google reviews, do it right, you might get one, you probably get one. But like collecting money, you mess that up, that one's primary, it's not secondary. So that's just some of the things I've observed. Wes, can I tell you one other thing I've observed? And that's watching you over the months working with staff to introduce scripts. And I very seldom see staff not either consciously or unconsciously try to resist what you're saying. And in most cases, it's about 3 months before we see real effective scripts coming out.
Yeah, I would say it's probably the toughest thing you can do in terms of knowing how much control you have, how much your team is engaged. Try to introduce a script. If you introduce the script and you get them to learn it, you get them using it, and 6 months later you go check on it and they're still using it, you're in control. You have a well-oiled machine, you have a great team. But anybody listen to this, I'd be shocked if you're able to accomplish that. And therein lies the real problem.
What's the difference, Wes, between coming out and finding a person after 6 months of using a script isn't using it? What's the difference between that and having a person quit, hiring a new person, and putting them in the same position? Probably nothing.
Yeah. So turnover has its own problems for sure. Not following the systems of the practice or drifting from them. So if you're really hot on a script, and you say, "Hey, I want you to answer the phone this way." When a new patient calls and they ask a weird question about insurance, whatever, first thing I want you to ask them is, "How did you hear?" I'd love to answer that for you, but first, could I ask how you heard about the practice? Sounds simple. It's one sentence. It has magic to it, and if you got really hot on it, you could get people to do it. But I would guarantee you that as soon as you're not hot on it, it goes away. And that's the real problem with the script is one is to get it actually in place, you have to just be super all about it. And then number two, if as soon as you're not super all about it, it'll drift away. Guaranteed. So what I've learned with scripts is you've got to pick your battles. You've got to pick the most impactful points in the practice that deserves scripting. You have to be all about it all the time. Meaning for the front desk, there might be a set of 4 or 5 scripts and encounters that you demand them to know and be able to repeat and recite on demand, and obviously to use on patients. In the back, there might be, again, 3 to 5 that you demand, and hygiene same. Any more than that, you can't be all about it all the time, like I said. So you have to pick the areas that really matter. So answering a new patient, how to deal with a new patient on the phone, that matters. It has impact like you can't believe. Okay. How they pre-assess, how they collect the money, get the next appointment, reschedule people, how they introduce treatment to people, how they introduce how much something's going to cost. All these points that I just listed off are the major points of a practice. And getting them to do it, what I've found is you've got to train till they know it so well that they can repeat it back at any point. You wake them up at night in the middle of the bed, you shake them up, "What's that script?" And they can just rattle it off. They got to know it that well. And once they know it that well, they tend to use it. Okay. But the other part is you've got to stay on top of it all the time. That's why I said you have to pick your battles. You have to only choose a few for each department. Any more than that, and you won't be able to keep on top of it.
I want to sum up one of the problems that comes up with this. First of all, I think people are obviously embarrassed, the staff are, if it sounds like a script. And yet, in truth, they're the ones to blame for that. We've talked a lot about being engaged in the practice where they're really mentally with the patient. Well, we have people that are engaged, they're really good. They talk at the real human level, they interact with people, it's really good, but they don't know the script. It's when they do both. They know the script and they know how to be and sound engaged, going at the pace that sounds like real conversation. So it's 2 parts.
There's a couple other areas of the practice, Greg, that I didn't even mention. One is cancellations. People call and cancel. There's got to be a script for that and how to get the person hopefully back into the practice and not cancel. And they have to follow that script. Number two is how they confirm appointments. Too often it's not a script. It's, hey, Mrs. Jones, I got you at 9 o'clock. That time still work good for you? We'll see you then. That's what they do. That's not a very good script, and it will lead to actual cancellations. So you've got to take the time to identify the areas that really truly need a script, where you want to have them follow it verbatim. You've got to train them on a level like Greg, like you're talking about, where they know it so well that they can make it sound natural. If they're reading it, that they don't know it well enough. They got to know it, and they got to internalize it and inflect in their voice. And hey, Mrs. Jones, I can't make this appointment for any reason. Would you do something for me? Sure. What's that? Yeah. If you can't make it for any reason, we would really appreciate it if you could give us a heads up, give us a 48-hour notice. Would you do that for me? They got to know that to a T, to where it can sound natural. The other thing about a script that's important is measuring results. If you know everybody's using this script, and you know that, hey, we get about 2 cancellations a day in hygiene, and everybody's doing the confirm scripting the same way, and everybody's doing the cancellation scripting the same way. If we modify the script and now we're getting 3 or 4, we know that we didn't do right. And if we modify the script and we get 1 cancellation, now you've got a better script. But if everybody's winging it, how do you improve? And therein lies the issue with a lot of these points in scripting, that they have to be scripted.
Brings up a good point. The way, have you ever seen those cartoons where the man is talking to the dog in the cartoon, the dog's hearing nothing, but the guy's saying all the stuff? Staff look at you and kind of tune you out because you're always high on something. You're always about some new thing. But I would agree with you this time that this is worth standing firm and saying, we're doing this. And I wouldn't move on to the next thing until you see scripting combined with engagement. And it's true, it might take the right bonus to inspire people to really embrace that and not fight and claw to try to avoid it.
We have people that pay a bonus once they learn a script. In other words, like at the end, if you can recite it, we do a few different tests throughout the day, and I can pull you aside at any point and ask you the script, and you do that 3 or 4 times in a row, boom, there's $100. You've learned the script.
This is what we do at Whitehall. A lot of people wonder, hey, you guys are coaches, you're consultants. What is it you do? Well, we drill with staff on scripting. We look for engagement. And I have to say, what Wes was just talking about, we look at results and say, you say you're doing the script, it doesn't show. Yeah, there's so many ways you can mess this up.
I've dealt with this so many times where people just flat out lie to me saying they're using the scripts, and the easiest one for me to check on is the phone scripting, because now there's various recordings that we can listen to, and people would just, I'm using it. What are you talking about? And I go, yeah, but the results, you get all these missed appointments and with new patients.
Weak.
And we're not getting the new patients. The marketing company is saying the clicks are happening, and click through, the people are calling. What's going on? We start recording the phone calls. They're not using the script.
Let me just go one step further, Wes. We spend the money, $150 to $250 a phone call through marketing to get the phone to ring. And from there on, how the phone's answered, how the person's greeted, how the case is presented, how the money is collected, those are all scripted things. And if you think they're going to work themselves out on their own, you're mistaken. If you think that one person you have that, for whatever reason, she cares about the practice, she can only be at one place with one patient at one time.
Yeah.
So if you want to get this to happen, call us up. Let's talk about the scripting in your office and be patient. It's going to take 90 days to turn this ship's like turning an oil tanker. It takes 5 miles to change direction.
Yep. Yep. So thanks for listening. Yeah, if you need help, give us a call. This has impact. This has impact. Getting a few scripts well drilled into your team has impact on your practice. Less cancellations, more new patients, hygiene's full, better case acceptance. It matters.
Everything you want.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for
Thanks.
listening.